Okay, today we are going to talk about innovation and creativity. So those two terms are the building blocks for the entrepreneurship. So it's kind of a tight concepts. So creativity plus innovation creates entrepreneurship. So those are very intercorrelated and interrelated concepts. We already talked about creativity before, but we're going to talk about more about this one. So when we talk about innovation, what do you understand from innovation? It's a process of and the outcome of creating something new, which is also the value for the customers or the people in a large environment. So when we create our business model, we already talk about creating a value rather than producing goods or services. So the value means that if you solve your customer's problem and if you fulfill your people's requirements and demands, if you meet people's demands, then you can create a value for them. And this value should be different and more advantages for the people. So people should perceive this value, and this value should be compared with the previous one. So the new innovation techniques, products, goods, whatever you call it, should provide more benefits compared with the previous one. So it is the process of the creating something. So innovation based on creativity and the creativity based on thoughts and imagination. So we already discussed that one. So the innovation involves the whole process from the opportunity identifications in the market and the identification of these opportunities, or the invention to development of things in your brain. Then you need to convert these thoughts into practice, and you can create prototype before you produce goods or services in the serial market. You need to produce a prototype for the specific number of people to understand, to perceive their uh, attitudes towards the new things, whether they will going to accept it or adopt it or like it or they don't like it. And after this test or pilot trial, then you can evaluate your situation, then you can produce new goods and services in a serial way to the whole market, and you need to produce that one. Then you need to market and sales. So this innovation process covers all the procedures. At the same time, entrepreneurship only needs to involve the commercialization. So we can shortly uh, um, we can shortly say that creativity related much with the idea, imagination, and developing idea. And innovation is the process of creativity, and the outcome of creativity yields to innovation. Innovation is something creating goods or services. But uh, without selling or marketing these goods and services or technologies, whatever you call it, innovation, it cannot be the subject for the entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurship mainly deals with the marketing of and the commercialization of the products, as Schumpeter already defined. So let us remember the creativity. As you remember, it is the act of turning or converting new ideas and imaginative ideas into reality. So it involves several things at the same time. As you can see from the this picture, So start with many things should be get together at the same time. One of them is the idea, and this idea can be developed with several people using with the creativity. One of the creativity activities such as brainstorming or mind mapping or different techniques, and using this imagination and based on the people's vision and inspiration, and combining this one with their previous knowledge, education, and experience, and then those using this creativity, thoughts can be converted into reality. Then it becomes innovation, and innovation can be commercialized and becomes to the products in the market. So it is characterized by the ability to perceive the whole world in a new way, different way. It's a different perspective, way of looking to the people, their needs, and the world in a different way, and try to find the hidden patterns and try to make connections between the unrelated things, problems, and try to generate different unusual solutions to the usual problems. So the creativity involves, that's why, two stages at the same time. One is the thinking process, another one is the producing the process. But producing is not a serial producing, it's limited with the prototype. So we can formulate entrepreneurship. It's a way of creating value with the creativity and innovation. As you can see from the Venn diagrams, three things. When the two things get together, then create the third one. So we can sum up creativity with the thinking new things, and innovation, thinking new things at the same time. But this is mainly for the imagination and thinking process. This is the realization process and producing technology, a new technology. But after creating technology, you need to commercialize into the market and then create the value. Then becomes the subject for the entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurs succeeded by thinking and doing new things, and or old things in a new ways. This is really important. Innovation doesn't necessarily be invention. It can be also a modification and radical changes in the current way of thinking or ideas. So it is the ability to apply creative solutions to those problems and opportunities, but creating in a different way. This is really important. This can be done in order to enhance people's lives or enrich people's society, to fulfill their needs. So the creativity is the ability to develop new ideas and discover new ways of looking at the problems and opportunities. But after this creativity, innovation makes things into reality, and those reality after commercialization marketed in the market, then it becomes the subject for the entrepreneurship. So how can we enhance innovation and creativity? So before we start this discussion, we need to talk about the barriers, limitations about the innovation. So the main barriers for the creativity and innovation is the people's themselves, actually. The main barrier is you, actually, is you or me, whatever. So if you don't believe it, then you cannot overcome this problem. After this, the main problem, we can talk about other barriers, such as searching for the one right answer. There is no one right answer. Try to find other ways, look into the different solutions, and try to find unusual solutions which can be work or better in the market. So focusing on in logical, only the logical thinking cannot be solve the problem. We need to sometimes think about not rationally but emotionally. We need to combine it at the same time. If you follow the rules blindly, then you cannot overcome and you cannot break the walls, and into the narrow frames you cannot change it. So try to relieve from your connections and try to create a new way of thinking. Another barrier for the innovation and creativity is to being so practical or so pragmatic. Then you cannot change and create new things. Another one is viewing places grievously. This is also another barrier. And try to be very narrow, specialized into a narrow subject. So if you only see a tree in the forest, then you cannot see the whole forest. You need to be sometimes go outside and try to see in a holistic way and to see the whole the system. If you only specialize in a one part, then you cannot connect with others. Avoiding ambiguity or looking and being foolish, this kind of concerns and fearings are also limit people to being creative or innovative. So fearing mistakes and failures is also limited people to do the same things, and believing that I'm not the creative. This is the main. I think this is the most important. This is the most critical. I think barrier for the innovation and creativity. If you don't believe it, and if you believe that I'm creative and I can do this, then you can do this and create new things. You can think new things, and you can also create and innovate new things, or you can radically change the current available issues. So it is a process when you become creative and innovative. There are some phases. We can talk about the four phases and four stages actually. The first one is the knowledge accumulation. It's a kind of a, we can call it pre-incubation, which means that you start thinking about a problem or see the opportunity. But in this process, you just framing the issue you talk about with the others and try to search and try to find more information about this one. And after this stage, we call it incubation process. You in this process, you develop this idea and then you grow it in your mind one by one, and it's going to be mature when it gets ready. A kind of process. And the third one is the idea or eureka process. It's like a sparking. All of a sudden it comes in your mind and saying that, okay, I found it. And then like Archimedes, they found it, eureka. So after this maturation, after these two stages, pre-incubation and incubation, framing and developing those ideas, all of a sudden it comes into your mind, and then in this process, slowly but surely formulates the solution. You try to find a solution to the alternatives, and at the last stage, you evaluate and implement those solutions and select from the various alternatives. Then you decide and you focus on one alternative. In this stage, you not only think about it, but also you found the solution, and you apply this solution and create a prototype, and it's ready for the trial. And after this trial, you can decide that okay, it is working, and you can decide for the serial production, for the mass production at the same time. Innovation, we can talk about different innovations, different types of innovation. It is already written in OECD. You can find some Oslo criteria, some papers and documents about that one. The types of innovation. But before we do this, we need to talk about the different things. As I already mentioned, one type is the invention. Like Edison found the light, the bulb. In this process, he created which is unknown, which is not available. We call it this invention. So the creation of new products, services, or processes. But innovation doesn't necessarily be invention. It can be modification or the radical changes in the available current product, services, or processes. The second one is the extension, the expansion of a product, services, or process, which is as I already mentioned, radical changes about the current things. So as you can see, Edison invented this one, but we extend this idea with the different one. And recently we have the LED bulbs, or we have torches, or different things. So it can be extension of the invention. The third one is the replication, a replication of an already existing product, services, or processes. This is also the case, and the synthesizes, the combination of existing concepts and factors into a new formulation is another thing. So you can combine two things at the same time without, for example, without receiving a cable. We call it wireless system. You can develop the wireless system. You can, for example, this one is the connected with the wire. Maybe you can change this one, and maybe you can convert this model into the fluorescent that one. And recently you can create the LED one, and you can also use this LED technology into the torch. So there are endless of alternatives. I'm saying like this. So based on these four types, we call it different. That one. One is the most common one, product innovation, and the second one is the process innovation. And recently we talked about marketing, organizational, technological, social, and business model innovation. So generally in OECD criteria, we talk about product, processes, market, organizational, and also the business model innovation in the literature. What is product innovation? We all know it, especially in the furniture sector. You see lots of alternative. It involves in the introduction of the new goods or services that is substantially improved and developed. This might include improvements in the user friendliness, components and materials, softwares in the products, functional characteristics, and technical abilities. And one thing can be an innovation. It can be radically changed to the this one. And you can see the product innovation strategy and consulting processes from that one. What about the process and marketing innovation? Process, especially new or significantly improved production or delivery methods, especially in the manufacturing sector. If you include in your company with the new processing or delivery or storage things in order to decrease the costs, or in order to increase the efficiency in the system, then it can be subject for the process innovation. This includes the significant changes in the techniques, equipment, or softwares, especially in the production and delivery methods in the factories or companies. Another type of innovation is the marketing. It's a development of new marketing methods with the improvements in product design, packaging, promoting, or pricing. This is really important. We can see the new marketing understandings and approaches and in the market. So you need to create a new one, or you need to radically change or combine the previous ones. And it can be a subject for the market innovation. Organizational innovation involves the creation of new organization, especially in the organizations itself, inside, or the inter-organizational relations. So these methods can be used in business practices or way of working organizations or new organization behaviors, workplace organization, and especially in the external relations. Previously, companies were closed system, but now those companies are trying to become a more open companies and try to set up relations with the other things. So organization innovations involves not only itself inside the organizational changes, but also the includes the relations with the other companies around them, or the different vertical agreements. And technological innovations based on the scientific technology, invention and discovery based on the developments of the technology. Social innovations at the same time critical historic periods more important than technological ones. For example, the male education system, social system, healthcare system can be the subject and example for the social one. And recently, the last but not least, maybe the most important thing one is the business model innovation. Especially in your business model canvas, you try to create this kind of innovation. And recently in the world, the most successful companies in the world uses this business model innovation, and it involves the changing the way of business. How is it done? Terms of capturing value, especially this is really important. Rather than producing, processing, marketing, organizational one, they create the value in the market. They especially the first examples was the Compaq and Dell, and recently Apple, Samsung, and this kind of companies, even Amazon, Google, those companies recently use this business model innovation techniques. So we need to talk about the degree of novelty when we talk about innovation. So we need to talk about the incremental, radical, or systematical innovations at the same time. But